G'day everybody, my name is Mark Hathaway, the owner of the Biosynergy Health Facebook group. I'm also a biohacker and I'm also a microscopist. I study live and I study dry blood, as many of you will know. I've been working in this industry for the last seven odd years now, and I've been working with clients all over the world. And I guess one of the things, if I was to pick one standout aspect that I see coming up all the time that's really missing, and this is education. Okay, there's a lot of reliance on too many other people. There's a lot of reliance on there's so much conflicting information. Okay, there's a lot of confusion out there. Okay, one person says this, another person says that. One book says this and another book says that. And I guess this is what got me into this work in the first place. I thought there's a lot of confusion here. Surely we need to dig deeper and understand, well, why is there so many different opinions out there? Why is everybody saying something different? And I guess what I've come up with, well, absolutely. Look, I don't think there's a diet book out there or any sort of book out there that isn't correct for the person that actually wrote it. The big difference is, and one of the things I've discovered through this work, and I focus on primarily with this work, is that we're all biologically unique. We all have different makeups. All right, you only have to go outside and look around and see different people, different expressions, different moods, different personalities, okay, different behaviors, which are all just nothing more than manifestations and reflections of different biochemical differences within their body. Okay, so there's no question that we're all different. And I guess the big deal is, or the big question is understanding that difference so that we can actually tap in and stop running around in circles like many of my clients and probably many of you have been doing. And help you put your jigsaw puzzle of health together, help you understand your uniqueness, okay? Once you understand this uniqueness, it makes it so much easier to be able to move forward. Not only easier, but much quicker, okay? So this is almost accelerated healing, okay? Because we don't waste time trying out things that may or may not be working, or at least we're trying out things and we may be waiting for 5 or 6 weeks to understand whether something is working or something is not, okay? I guess one of the powerful aspects of this course is being able to understand how to track and get that feedback as to whether we are moving in the right direction or we're moving in the wrong direction, okay? We all jump in the car and we drive up the road, and you know, we have a dashboard on the car. It gives us some feedback. You know, we have a fuel gauge, we have a speedometer, we have an oil gauge, we have a heat lamp, and all this sort of stuff to tell us when the car is overheating. We get this feedback all the time, and to be honest, we probably couldn't drive that car if we didn't have that in the first place. And one of the things with our health, I guess up until probably now, as you'll learn through my course, it's been a little bit of a mystery as to, well, is something working for me? How do I know it's working for me? Do I need to start something else? Do I need to change what I'm doing? Do I need to do this or do I need to do that? How do I know? So do I have a bio dashboard? Well, yes, you do have a bio dashboard. Okay, we do have key numbers. We have key biomarkers that do give us feedback on information to tell us whether things are working or they're not working. Okay, so there's a big focus in this area with this work. I guess not only that too, I guess flowing on from that is, you know, there's nothing in nature that follows a straight line. Okay, and if we look at the analogy of flying, say, a plane from New York to London, all right, you know, we all know we have a goal, all right? We all have a goal. We want to be healthy. We want to be pain-free. We want to be vital. We want to just be energized, okay? We want to look younger, okay? We want to live to an old age. We all have a good idea of where we want to be. Just like a plane has an idea of where it wants to go. So it wants to go to London. We have that. That's the goal. That's the first thing. The very next question you have to ask is, where am I now? And very few people know where they are now, okay? So at the very beginning, this is from the basis of this work, is to identify where we are now, and not only just identify that, but have some objective scientific data to be able to quantify that. Okay, so we know where we're at. Okay, so the plane wants to go to London. Then the very next question is, where am I now? I'm in New York. Okay, and then the plane takes off, just like we take off. All right. We start taking some interventions, we start making some dietary changes, and we start taking some different supplements and stuff like that. And then we take off. But just like a plane does, okay, a plane takes off. There's no such thing as a straight line, okay? plane takes off, there's tailwinds, side winds, updrafts, downdrafts, you name it. All right, and you might not notice it. You may have the illusion that there is a straight line, but that plane is constantly making corrections. Okay, it drifts a little bit left, it'll pull it to the right, it'll pull it to the right. Okay, it's constantly being it does that because it has instruments, it has set points, it knows where it needs to be. So as it drifts off, it starts to pull itself back into line, so that it actually arrives in London on time. Well, not only on time, but it actually arrives in London as opposed to Kathmandu. Okay, and we're no different. We take off, but one of the biggest problems now, but a lot of people are facing right now, is when they do start drifting off, they do start going wayward, things stop working, or things are working very, very well. It's understanding when those things happen, and just like a plane will have an instrument, a gauge, some set points to be able to pull them back into line, I will teach you these set points, these biomarkers, and provide the tools to be able to do this through this training, so that you don't end up in Kathmandu with your health. All right, and many of you are doing this. Okay, I'm sure many of you can relate to taking supplements in the past, or making changes in your diet and lifestyle, and things working for a while, and then down the track things going back to where they were before, because you were going off track but you didn't realize it. Okay, so big focus on this, and this is where a lot of the biohacking comes in, is to be able to understand when you are going off track, to be able to gauge when you need to pull yourself back to the line, when you need to stop, and when you need to start. All right, so following on from that, I'm very, very excited to be able to finally announce that my first foundational health and biohacking online training program begins on the 28th of Sunday, the 28th of March. April next month. Now, this course is a 24-week course. It's a bi-weekly course, so we'll have every 2 weeks there'll be a new lesson released. But in between those lessons, we're going to be having live Q&A sessions with me, so that we can have Q&A sessions, we can ask questions, I get some feedback for you, and sort of really help you along the healing journey. This stuff isn't rocket science, but it's a process like everything. And one of the things I've tried to do is to break it down into easily manageable chunks, and not only sort of just teaching this stuff, but you will be working through the program following your own assessment. And we'll have your own assessment, and I'll be teaching you how to do that assessment as part of the program. And also, you'll be, as part of the course, also you'll be having your own live blood analysis as well, because I will be throughout the course, I'll be using not only dry blood, but live blood examples to be able to reference back to be able to reinforce some of the learning I'm talking about. Okay, one thing is to talk about inflammation, or talk about high minerals in the blood, or talking about a suppressed immune system or whatever. But there's another thing to actually be able to see that. What does inflammation look like? What does a white blood cell look like that's struggling? What does a congested system look like? Okay, it really helps reinforce the whole learning process. All right. Now, you don't have to be a microscopist to do this. All right. It's not important to have a microscope. This is not a microscopy course, but I'll be using these examples throughout to be able to go from some of the theory and some of what I'm talking about with the biomarkers to say, well, what does this really mean at this biochemical level? All right. It's very, very, very powerful. So it doesn't matter. Look, with this course, it's designed to fit for all different levels. All right, it doesn't matter if you're already a professional practitioner working in the industry, if you are a naturopath, a nutritionist, a kinesiologist, a sports therapist, or whatever. That's one level, but it's something that you can. This is something you can integrate into the work that you're already doing. It's not going to replace anything, but it's really going to add some value to what you're doing. It's also going to really fit with people that are looking at. And I know a lot of you are doing this, looking at maybe moving into this area in the future. Okay, as I say, the future of wellness is in education for sure. Okay, and education is all about really understanding the basics, the fundamentals, and the foundational stuff, and moving away from all this noise out there and all this misinformation. Okay, so for those of you that are like thinking in the back of your mind, you know what, I wouldn't mind doing this, even if you don't do it on such a high level, professional level, or you don't have a professional practice, no problem. Because look, one of my missions, one of my passions here is to get this work out there. Okay, and if you can just help the family, your family around you and friends around you through this course, and people are already doing this. All right, I ran a biohacking course last year. It's been completely redone and improved for sure. But I've already, we've already got people out there who are helping other people, and sometimes this can literally mean the difference between life and death. Okay, because people just don't know and they're confused. Okay, so it's suitable for people that want to move into the business in the future, but it's also suitable for people, especially my clients that I've already worked with, but anybody out there that really wants to just get a better handle on what's going on and how to do these measurements, how to know the difference between what is working and what isn't working, and how to apply that to themselves to improve their health. All right, because I really believe this educational process is fit for it. Everybody needs to know this stuff. You can't get away from it. All right, there's absolutely no question. We have to start taking responsibility. We have to start taking that control back to ourselves and not relying so much on all these conflicting information. Okay, so the course, course consists, like I mentioned just now, the course consists of it's going to be spread over 24 weeks, and it's going to be it consists of a number of things. So we're going to have recorded video presentations. Okay, well, before I even start that, this whole program is going to be actually presented on a very professional online learning system. Okay, so it's going to be self-paced, if you like. So it's not going to be something you don't have to turn up every 2 weeks to be able to be ready for the next lesson. It's something you can do, you can do in your own time, and maybe just jump in on a live Q&A every now and then. It's up to you. But there's going to be recorded video presentations. There's going to be online presentations. There's going to be case studies. Okay, now case studies is something that I find a very, very powerful method of learning, because you'll be learning from real life examples of the work that I've done. Okay, as I mentioned before, you're going to be working through your own assessment. Okay, and we'll have your own bloods to work through as well, so that you can relate back to what's relevant to you, not just what's relevant to the stuff that I'm learning, and it may be a little bit more generalized. Okay, there's going to be online quizzes. Okay, this is something I sort of missed out my last course. It's sort of online quizzes after each section, so that it can really sort of reinforce some of the learning and just keep you on track. Okay, regular Q&A sessions. I think I mentioned that before. There's going to be a final certification assessment as well. So everybody that completes a course and completes the final assessment, which we were all working through together through a live session, that'll be presented as well. So that it's just something else you can take back to your practice, and just gives you a little bit of paper to say, look, I've worked with this guy. I have quite a big reputation now around the world for the work that I do. I know I'm recognised, and I know that I'm quite respected amongst quite a few peers out there, and quite a number of well-known people. So, this piece of paper isn't just a piece of paper with your name written on it. It's a certification to say that you've actually done this work for me, and we've reached a certain standard in your understanding. Okay. And look, as far as the content's concerned, I mentioned a few things before, but look, essentially, I'm going to be bringing you and integrating some of the collective brilliance of one of the best minds, the geniuses out there in natural medicine the last century. Okay, and learn from my real world experiences drawn from implementing these strategies over the last 7 years, working with thousands of clients across the world. All right, I guess equally as important, or even more important, knowing what to do is one thing, and it's not rocket science to understand what it is we need to do. I guess the big trick is, and I think where the a lot of the value comes from with this training course, is for you to understand the thinking and the reasoning that goes behind this. Okay, because it's not only a matter of knowing what to do. It's how do I come up with these decisions? What are my thought processes? Because you need to understand this. All right, because it's quite different than most other people. Okay, I don't make assumptions about anything. Okay, Typically in a lot of modalities and a lot of practitioners and whatnot, we tend to make assumptions. We tend to make assumptions that, we have the light switch turned on in the first place. We have a means to move energy around the body. We have cell membranes that are cycling as they should do, from catabolic to anabolic, and catabolic in the morning to anabolic at night. We have an energy production system that's working as it should be. We have a digestive system that's working. We have the digestive chemistry that's correct so that we can actually pick up these minerals in the first place. We have a gallbladder that's working. We have a pancreas that's working. All right, we have a nervous system that's balanced. All right, I don't make those assumptions, and I can tell you now from all the work that I've done, it's these areas that I focus on that really make the difference. Okay, these are all part of your healing system. They're all diphasic. They're all there are two sides to every one of these things. We have a catabolic and we have an anabolic. We have an electrolyte deficiency and we have an electrolyte excess. There's nothing wrong with being in either one. But when we start getting sick, I can almost guarantee you're going to find the answers lay in some of these mechanisms being stuck. Okay, and these are the mechanisms that make up our healing system. We all talk about we have this innate, this inbuilt healing system. Well, I break that down into mechanisms. All right, understand, and we profile those mechanisms. Okay, we assess those biomarkers that tell us whether those mechanisms are in balance or not. All right, it's essential. If you don't have the light switch turned on because you don't have minerals, because you're not assimilating, because you don't have digestion, well, you don't have means to move energy around the body, there's no point doing anything else. All right. Equally so, if we don't have cell membrane permeability, if we don't have the means to be able to hold on to minerals, or actually get minerals into the cells in the first place, because we have a lipid imbalance, okay, because we have a gallbladder issue, we're not emulsifying fats, all this sort of stuff, we're not going to get anywhere. All right, if we're not producing energy as well as we could be, we're not going to get anywhere. If we have erratic pHs, we're not going to be able to assimilate any of the minerals in the first place. Okay, these are all assumptions that are made by many people, and like I mentioned just now, and it's something that I found is greatly missing. All right, and this is where the magic really happens. I guess not only knowing what to do, how to do it, and I guess also a big focus on this work is the sequence in which we do things. Okay, it's very, very important. Knowing what to do, when to do it, the sequence is very, very important. We could have 10 people in a kitchen baking a cake, following a recipe point by point. Okay, 9 of those people can follow each one of those steps, step by step, exactly as written, and they'll come up with a perfect cake, identical. You only have to have one person who does one step the wrong way around, or doesn't follow one of those steps properly, and the cake isn't going to come out. And that's really what happens with us with healing. Okay, what is the point of taking a mineral if we don't have the fluid in the first place to move it around the cells? Okay, and this is where a lot of the foundational side of things come into it as well. Okay, do we have this foundation in the first place, right at the beginning? Do we have electrical flow through the body? Do we have enough hydration in our bloodstream, our river of life, to actually move nutrition into the cells and move nutrition out of the cells? Move toxins out of the cell. As you can probably understand, if you don't have that, what is the point of doing anything? And this is what's happening. People are doing some wonderful things. There are some wonderful diets. A lot of my clients have a very, very good organic-based whole food diet, but things still aren't working. It's because they don't have the fundamentals in place and the foundation in place, okay? And just like if you were to build a house without putting a foundation in first, what's going to happen is the house is going to start crumbling. It may work for a while, and I'm sure some of the stuff you've done for a while, over a period of time has worked. But what happens? It starts breaking down. Things stop working. All right, and then we start running into problems. Like a house, the wall starts falling down, or the windows, or the roof starts caving in, or stuff like that. What do? We rebuild the house. We put a new wall and whatnot. Oh, it's fine. It works for a while. Just like we take some supplements, we change our diet, we change the way we do things. And then 3 months down the track, or 6 weeks down the track, things start going wrong again. And that's because we don't have that foundation, okay? So the whole process, as we work through this, is starting off from the very, very basics, very, very foundational level. And we build up step by step by step. So each step of the way, we never fall back any further. We're building this solid foundation. And when we do that, we start to build some robust health. All right? We cannot build robust, solid health upon a shaky foundation. And I guess equally, more important, we can't build this, what I call adaptive capacity. And what I mean by adaptive capacity is, we're all aware of the stresses that we face on a day-to-day basis. There are environmental stress, there's toxins in the air, we drive down the road, there's diesel fumes. We may have physical stress, might have emotional stress. Okay, stress is going to happen, it's out there everywhere. The question is our body able to adapt to that stress? Is it able to be able to respond without pushing the body out of balance? Because there's no doubt stress plays a very, very big part in disease and ill health. It also plays a very, very big part in getting well and optimizing health, because first thing it does is shut down the immune system, and it shuts down digestion. So you can see it's very, very important. But once we start building up this foundation, we start building up this robustness, and we start building this adaptive capacity, we start to get to a point where we can really start doing some cool things and really start getting some headway. All right? And I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about here. It's really, really important. Once again, it's something I think that's lacking greatly out there. Okay, we've got to stop making assumptions about things. You cannot open a book, look at a client and open a book, or you look at yourself and open a book and say, well, this is how it's meant to work, and this is how our liver works, and this is how this works. Well, that's by the book. But the thing is, you're ill, you're broken, so we need to understand the brokenness. And that brokenness has a structure to it. Okay, and we start looking at things in a logical fashion, and we start looking at the right areas, we start coming up with the answer, with the true answers. Okay, and then it just becomes a process. Okay, just to run through some of the key, I guess, to summarize some of the key learnings you're going to get out of this course. I mean, you're going to learn a lot of stuff. You're going to learn a lot of tricks. You're going to learn a lot of hints, a lot of, if you like, a lot of shortcuts, a lot of ways of bypassing and really speeding up the whole process. But essentially, some of the really key learnings you're going to be doing here, we've talked about some of them before. Learning about the thinking and the reasoning that sits behind the decisions I make. All right, as mentioned before, this is, one thing is knowing what to do, but the real magic comes into understanding the logical thinking that goes behind how I interpret what's going on. This is where the difference is between what I do and a lot of other people to do. It's joining those dots. It's being able to understand the patterns that you're seeing, and not just looking at one thing and saying, well, our pHs are out, or our cell membranes are out. It's looking at the whole picture to say, are we actually seeing a pattern here? Because when we start seeing these patterns, and especially when we add in the addition of a very, very extensive questionnaire that also forms part of this metabolic profiling, you start to get these patterns that come up that would never really come up together. They would never see these patterns unless things were really going on in these areas. It's very, very accurate. Okay, incredibly accurate. It still blows me away to this day. And I guess by doing working in a clinic as I did years ago. I started off, I've had 2 clinics in the past in Queensland. I had one in Brisbane and I had one on the Gold Coast. I guess through that process, I was doing a lot more testing. I was able to do a lot of reagents testing and a lot more specific testing and whatnot. And I guess what that really means for me now is I don't necessarily need to do that testing anymore, but I needed to understand what that meant and what patterns those results help build, and now that I don't need to do that testing, we can start through this questionnaire and through these identifying these biomarkers. I get a very, very accurate picture without having to do this testing. All right, so that's a very, very big thing. Okay, so the reasoning behind. I'll be teaching you how to build this solid foundation. I've mentioned this before again. All right, making sure that we have this foundation, we have this robustness, and we build this adaptive capacity. So as we move through, and as you move through, if you're working with clients, to make sure that we never ever go backwards. Okay, we build these plateaus. And I do this when I'm working with clients. I work with a number of clients over a 12-month period. I run coaching programs. People that are very, very stuck. I have a lot. I don't get easy clients. I get people that have been stuck for a long, long time, and some of these issues I'll pick up in the first 15 minutes. All right, some of these issues. But what I do find is just understanding is a lot of these people haven't been doing the right things in the right order. Okay, they haven't had that foundation in place. So that's very, very, very important. Okay, we talked about the live blood and dry blood. Referencing back to the live dry blood, you will have your own dry blood sample as part of this, included in the cost of this course. Okay, and I guess this visual perspective is going to really help with the learning. Learning some of the principles and I guess reinforcing some of the learning so that you can understand how does this relate, because once again we start to look at things from a visual perspective. We start to look at some of the things from, say, the biomarkers, the scientific, mechanical and electrical perspective, and it really helps gel things together. Okay, you're going to learn how to carry out your own metabolic and body chemistry testing using a range of simple tools. All right, things like pH meters or pH test strips, blood pressures, monitor, a glucometer and whatnot, just a few things. Depending on how deep you want to go on this, there are a few other tools you can get, which you can that cost a little bit more money, but that's going to be down to you how far you want to take this. You don't need all of this stuff, but yeah, depending on how far you want to go, how deep you want to go, and how much experimentation you want to do yourself, there are some other tools which we'll talk about. Okay, you're going to learn how to analyze your testing results. This is very, very important, and build your own metabolic profile. Okay, and identify build this profile and identify which of these key mechanisms are out of balance. Okay, not only which ones, but every one of these mechanisms are laid out in a hierarchy. So I mentioned before, if we don't have mineral assimilation, we don't have electrolytes in the body, we don't have means to move energy around the body. This is the most important and most highest in the hierarchy of systems that I'm going to be teaching you to be able to profile. If we don't have that, we have nothing. So what's the point of looking at the nervous system or looking at the energy production if we don't have the light switch turned on in the first place? All right, and to be honest, who have you ever worked with in the first place that have done this? Who have you ever worked with through testing and through therapy that have tested to see, do you have the means to move electrons around the body? I don't think many of you, not to my experience anyway. All right, but is it essential? It's a little bit like bringing an electrician into the kitchen to have a look at a fridge that's broken down. What does an electrician do? What's the first thing he does? All right, he doesn't start pulling the back off and going in and digging around and having a look at the condensers and the resistors and whatever, and looking at all the electrical components. The first thing he's going to do is a bleeding obvious, and that's going to be he's going to plug it in and switch it on. Do we have means of power in the first place? Because we don't, and we got to work back from there. If we don't have that, what's the point of doing anything? And half the time, or a lot of the time, that's where it's all at. It's directly related to digestion, but do not make the assumption that you have the means for the body, or the resources the body needs to be able to do its work. Okay, the body, at the end of the day, the body, the body is. I look at the body and the healing systems as sort of like a body juggling a whole heap of balls, and what happens when it starts to run into some of these problems, it starts to drop some of these balls, the least important balls, if you like. So least important systems. I mean, the priority of the body is to be able to maintain blood homeostasis. Otherwise, of course, we're going to die. Okay, your body doesn't care if it puts you in a wheelchair because of osteoporosis. It crumbles your bones. If it means it has to draw minerals from those bones into the bloodstream so that it can keep you alive and keep the pH of your blood balanced. Okay, so it's getting back to what I said before, that sequence is really, really important. Okay, and there is a hierarchy. All right, and just understanding this hierarchy, it's a very, very, very powerful aspect of this training course. It's very, very powerful knowledge, and once again, it's something that very few people practice, because I guess there's a lot of specialization out there. We're specialized in cardiovascular, we've got specialized people working with cancer, we've got specialized people working with emotional health and whatnot. This course integrates the best. People like Emmanuel Rivisi, who did a lot of work in cell membrane permeability, cell membrane dynamics, and cancer research and lipid dynamics and stuff like that, understanding that. You've got people like Dr. Kerry Reams, who's all about fluid dynamics and understanding the importance of pHs to be able to assimilate and break down, and how actually digestion truly works, because most people don't know. You've got people like Thomas Riddick and T.C. McDaniel that really focus on blood zeta potential and colloidal chemistry, understanding the importance of getting and maintaining the very, very sensitive electromagnetic forces that reside in the blood to be able to maintain dispersion of the blood. We don't even think about this. Very few people think about this. We're trying to stuff we're trying to stuff supplements down our throat, or a diet down our throat, but we're not even realizing that our blood is so agglutinated because we've lost zeta potential, we've lost the ability of bloods to be able to stay dispersed, okay? Dr. George Watson, who's very famous, this is the guy that coined the term fast and slow oxidizer in the first place. This is all about emotional health, okay? And understanding how we can try and balance this out so that we're actually burning a very good balance of fats and carbs. Okay, we've got to have that balance. This program and the work that I do draws the best from every one of these. So we're looking at everything. We're not just looking at one thing. Okay, and when you do that, you come up with a very, very, very powerful method of profiling what's going on. Okay, you're going to learn about all the minerals, vitamins, amino acids, custom designed supplements. Okay, I use a number of custom designed supplements. So that there's only one of them kind in the world, made by empirical labs in Colorado in the US. I spent an enormous amount of money importing those into Australia, and a lot of these supplements are made specifically for this work. You can't buy them on the shelf. Okay, very, very powerful stuff. So you're going to learn which ones you use. You're going to learn all the contraindications. Okay, you're going to learn all about the lifestyle and dietary changes you need to make specific to your chemistry, specific to your metabolic makeup and your uniqueness. Okay, it's going to be different for everybody. You need to understand that difference. You need to understand that structure. Okay, we talked about sequence and making sure that the importance of and ensuring any intervention is carried out at precisely the right time, in the right sequence, in the right time, and in the right quantities. Okay, once again, knowing what to do is one thing. Knowing the sequence in which to do these things is where the magic really happens. And as you go through this course, I guarantee you're going to be coming up with so many aha moments. Okay, you're going to be going, geez, that makes sense. Geez, that's so simple. But I didn't think about it because I wasn't thinking in that way. And this gets back to the thinking, learning about the thinking and being able to put this stuff together. I guarantee all of you are going to be having these aha moments. This stuff isn't rocket science, but the thinking that goes behind it, and pulling it all together, that's the magic. That's where it really comes into its own. You'll be learning how to build your own healing protocols, not just for yourself, for other people as well. Okay, we'll be going through lots of examples and working through your own protocol too, if this is something you're going to be doing for yourself as well. If you're struggling, or you've got some challenges yourself, maybe you won't, but you still learn how to build these build your own protocols and whatnot. Okay. As part of the course too, you're going to receive everything I have, all the soft copies, the spreadsheets, the templates, assessment sheets, the protocol sheets, everything I use, the information sheets. You're going to have all of that as part of this program. All right. You get everything. You get everything I use. And once again, for some of you, you're not going to use some of these. Some of you that are practitioners and professionals may take some of this stuff and integrate it into whatever you're doing in the first place. And I guess I haven't mentioned this before. It doesn't matter if you are a kinesiologist or a nutritionist or a naturopath or a doctor or whatever. I have a number of doctors that follow me here. It doesn't matter. This isn't a modality as such, okay? But this is a very, very powerful science-based method of testing and profiling to be able to, if nothing else, validate what you are doing. Okay, we can always go to a kinesiologist and do some energy work and muscle testing and all this sort of stuff. But how does that relate at the chemical level? Are we really doing something at the biochemical level? Are we really making a difference long term? So it's not only a tool that can be added into what you're already doing and add value to what you're already doing. It really quantifies a lot of what you're doing and gives some really hardcore data that's really geared towards natural healing as opposed to allopathic medicine, of course. And this is something that's missing big time. Okay, I guess one of the big things you're also going to be doing is every participant of this training is going to become a member of my online client management platform. Some of you are already aware of this platform. Basically, it's an online system, and it's something that we're going to be using to follow and track your progress through the course. When I say track your progress, track all your numbers, track all your biomarkers, learn all about your imbalances, manage the whole process of healing. Okay, it's a very, very powerful tool, and it's something that everybody that I'm working with over my 12-month period are on this, because it's like the last thing, I talk a lot about speeding up and accelerating the whole process of learning. This is because we find out things way before you would normally find out. You go back to your practitioner 6 weeks later and, well, sorry, Joe, but it hasn't worked, so let's try this and come back and we'll see you in 6 weeks. Talking about the analogy of the plane taking off and us taking off with our healing journey, and there's no such thing as a straight line. We're constantly varying. We're constantly going off track. And one of the powerful tools within this system is we trend these things, okay, and we analyze. We're really sort of taking things to a whole different level. A little bit it's almost like treating our body like a business, okay? I know there's more to it than just like a business, but you don't get a business that runs itself without having the numbers, having the budgets, tracking those numbers, being able to identify very, very quickly when things are going off track, and specifically where. Okay, because we're all going to have challenges. The question is, where do those challenges lie precisely, and how worried should we should be? Okay, so this system helps do that, and we will start to see patterns. We will start to identify the blueprint of your health, because it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. I will have set points. I will have ranges which we're going to be looking at, which determine whether you are in health. You do have these metabolic systems in health, because when you do, the health will start flowing on from that. No doubt, no question. I guarantee that. Okay, but if you're not tracking these things, it's going to take an awful long time before you realize, well, it didn't work, or this going off track. All right, so we're going to be tracking that. We've got, it manages everything, but also it also has a lot of information there that I'll be presenting on the course as well. So you'll be able to go like, oh, what did he mean by, slow oxidizer or fast oxidizer? What does that mean? What should I be eating? What shouldn't I be eating? So it's all going to be on that system. Okay, it's very, very, very powerful. Okay, and I guess it also serves as an interactive tool between myself and you, the program, to help reinforce the learning, real time, and how to monitor the changes and in your physiology, and refine your protocol, as mentioned just before, as you go through the process. Okay, I guess finally, throughout this course, look, one of the powerful aspects of this course is you're going to be joining a group of like-minded people. And some of these people are going to be people that already did my first biohacking course last year. Okay, this is going to give you a lot of opportunity to share ideas, to learn from. Okay, it's not just about me, offloading all this information. It's about me building this community of biohackers and people that really understand things at this level. Okay, and it's you can network with these people, you can share ideas with these people, and the more people we have involved, I've got about 60 people already and a lot of these people will be redoing this course this year. That's going to really add some value to the whole learning process. Okay, time to wrap up. Look, if you're interested in doing this course, attending this course, and as I've mentioned before, I highly recommend you do, regardless of where you are, because this is the future, I guarantee it. Go to www.biosynergypro.com. You can see the address come up on the screen, and it's come up on the screen a couple of times before in the past during the presentation. You'll find more information about the course, and you'll also find where you can pay. Look, if you are keen, and I hope you are, there's a quite a substantial discount for early bird discount. If you, I'm not sure exactly if it's the next 3 weeks or 2 weeks or something like that, but I'll put that up on the website. Also, too, for those of you that look, money's money, and although the cost is considerably less than what others are charging, for a lot less than what I'm giving by thousands. I'm going to be offering, if you want to do a part payment or you want to do a payment plan, I'm certainly open to that too, and I'll indicate that on the website. So look, thanks very much for sticking this out for 40 odd minutes. And look, I really hope I see you on the 28th of April next month, and look forward to you joining me and taking you forward and giving you an experience that's going to blow your mind. Okay, thank you very much. Bye bye.